mainly a documentary I just watched called Poverty Incorporated, which talks about charity organizations and how their entire, well, a lot of them are taken away from the actual development of these countries because they're flooding their economic systems with free stuff. So if you haven't heard of it, it's called Poverty Inc. It's on YouTube, not YouTube, on Netflix, and it's a pretty good read. So if you have any questions about anything or stuff that I should look at, let me know. But again, this is being recorded on my other phone so that I can upload to YouTube later and make a cool little blog post about it. And yes, my shirts are always wrinkled. I just don't know why. All right. So I watched the documentary earlier. It's called Poverty Incorporated, and I saw it on Netflix. And mainly it's about how non-governmental organizations flood a lot of these third world countries during times of disaster, or just continue to flood their economic system with food, clothing, and things like that. So when it first started out, it was talking about Haiti, like the earthquake they had in 2011, I believe it was, and how the organizations like UNICEF and World Bank and stuff were flooding their economic system with rice, which is understandable because these people, you need food, you need something to sustain yourself with. But one of the things that a big issue was, a lot of times they have rice farmers, and the rice farmers are now, suffering. Like if this is your independent, if this is your organization, if this is what you do, this is your job, and you're a rice farmer, and now free rice is everywhere. There's no help coming to the economic development of your country because they're taking it away, just because it's flooding the market. And one of the guys, he was talking about how in Haiti they would eat rice maybe once or twice a week, and then now it got to the point where they're eating rice 7 days a week for 3 meals. And another guy and another group of individuals, they made solar power street lights. And these street lights they used because there was a huge market for having sustainable energy in their country. So they made these street lights. But one of the things is when they had this earthquake, a lot of these countries were saying, well, they need electricity, so we'll give them solar panels. And they donated them, millions of dollars worth of solar panels. And now these guys that have this company are like, well, what are we going to do? They went from selling 50 solar panels a month to selling only 5 in the span of 6 months, And it just made me, it even made me go back and think about, one of the things we talked about was social, I forgot the word he used, but social companies that give back, right? And one of the companies they talked about was Tom's. And if you know me, I love the story of Tom's. I love the fact that this guy saw something he could help with and did his best to make a difference. But one of the things that really stood out when I originally saw that model, and they even voiced it here in this documentary, was simply the fact that if you're a shoemaker in this country and you make a living off making shoes and selling shoes, and now this company's coming through every month giving away free shoes, it's like, what happens to your economic power? You don't have it anymore. It's gone. And it was really interesting to see that. So a lot of times people ask why I chose the 4 DC nonprofits that I decided to work with. Janus Tudor House, Kayla's Village, the Playtime Project, and Bread for the City. Well, I can tell you personally, I've been affected by 2 of those. I remember sometimes, my mom, well, actually, I think it was every other Sunday, my mom and I would go up the street to the bread truck from Bread for the City, and we'd get, that was how we got our bread for the week. The Janus Tudor House, I pretty much grew up in there. I spent a lot of time in there. From the age of 6 until I was about 18, that place really made sure I had a solid foundation. But the reason why, these 4 organizations were chosen was because they don't give you fish, They teach you how to fish. right? That they put their time and effort into educating the people, educating the children, educating the adults. It's like Kayla's Village, their whole focus is on educating parents and social workers on how to be better parents and better social workers for the children's sake. Quick side note, I have an iPhone here and a Galaxy S7 up here, and I personally look a lot better on this iPhone here than this Galaxy. It's crisper on the iPhone. I kind of went the wrong choice here. But yeah, so back to the other organizations. The reason why, I picked Janus Student House is not because they aren't focused on, just trying to give a solution to people and say, this is it, like hand feeding the solution. They say, okay, this is what we can do. Let's come together and educate the children on how to do stuff that you aren't taught in school and stuff you are taught in school. Like I remember I took classes in like IT and there was like Lego robotics, and even took classes on taxes. I was only like 12, so I didn't take it too seriously, but the opportunity was there. And just a lot of organizations, here in this country and in other countries, focus more so on, it's like a Band-Aid over a wound, It's like they literally say, okay, well, there's a problem that's here. Let's just throw this at this problem, So if these people need food, let's just give them food. But what about all the farmers that are here that now don't have it? One of the things they were talking, demonstrations, or things they're talking about in the documentary. And for those of you that are just joining, the documentary is called Poverty Inc. It's on Netflix. But the guy, his whole thing was farming, right? He farmed eggs. He gave eggs to people. That's his business. He sold eggs. And then a disaster struck in Rwanda. And this church, the American church, decided they needed to donate eggs. So they said, okay, cool, we're going to donate a bunch of eggs to this country, to these people. And they donated for an entire summer, it seemed, just crates upon crates of eggs. So they flooded the market with eggs. And what happened was the guy that, originally had the company for the eggs, there was no more demand for his product. There was no demand for his eggs. So he went out of business. He sold his eggs. He sold his chickens. He sold his farm and everything. He got rid of everything. And then when the eggs stopped coming in from this, this charity organization, they had nothing. They didn't have any eggs because now he no longer produced these things. And it really, it stood out to me because a lot of people, have always said that they don't trust charity organizations. They don't trust these organizations. And, to be honest with you, rightfully so, a lot of them, they're kind of crooked. They focus more so on the money they can get from this, so the government subsidies, the grants and the grants and the subsidies and all that stuff that they can gather from this and try to do the least amount of work and obtain the most amount of money. And I always found that kind of devastating. I grew up in the city, so I was always exposed to different organizations. But a lot of them, like I said, just focused on what they can get out of you. What money they can get out of the government. How can they use you how can they exploit you? How can they push you in the face of the world and say, this is who we're helping? A lot of people believe Africa's poor. All Africa's just poor and just has no resources. They can't feed themselves. They can't eat. And that's all they keep showing on the news. But that's not the case at all. Africa's thriving. So that's my thing about these organizations, why they were chosen. It's simply because they don't just try and put a Band-Aid over a wound. They honestly spend the time and the effort and the energy to just really teach people how to be better people, how to sustain, job training. You get free medical services, so now you don't have to worry about trying to focus on how your kids are going to get these medicines they need. So now you can focus on school, you can focus on your education, you can focus on educating your children, free the minds of the children from whatever unfortunate circumstances they live in, so now they can freely understand, that they have the ability to change the world. So that was that one. So let me stop this video.